3, 2, 1, showtime!
CO, hello. I am Cade Thomas, and welcome to Double Feature Movie Club. This is our 40th episode, if you can believe it. And we are talking two indie horror films. We have 2011's You're Next, which is a slasher movie, and then 2012's Berberian Sound Studio, which is a psychological thriller sort of thing. So I am joined this week, as always, with my co-host Diane, and our guest this week is filmmaker Abby Hoover. How are you both doing?
Great, Cade. Good to see you. Good to see you, Abby.
Great. Mm-hmm. Good to see you too.
Yeah.
I hear you've had a lifestyle change since we saw you last.
Yes, that is true. I live in the big city, the Big Apple now.
Yay.
And we are out here just trying to make it.
Do people call it the Big Apple there?
No, I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. Something overtook me.
The city that never sleeps.
Yeah.
Just do all of it. Just launch into Frank Sinatra. Yeah.
Yep.
You can make it here. You can make it anywhere. I feel like we're all I just now noticed we're all dressed like in black. It's kind of a very serious thing we have going on here today. Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on again. Last time you were on, we were talking Nicholas Winding Refn movies, so we watched Drive and Neon Demon. So that was last season, and we're glad you're back on here for this season. Seems like we always do the very dark things when you're on.
Yeah, no worries. I'm loving it.
The quality of the darkness was better the first time around. You've got to admit.
Yeah. Guess we'll get into that. A little later. Well, yeah, soon. Yeah. Well, I mean, so you're there, and that's exciting. I mean, that's got to be very exciting to be.
Yeah,
in a
totally.
City with a lot of energy and things.
It feels like there's always stuff happening. So it's been super great to be here, and especially now being where films are being made and like being able to be on them is just great now. So yeah.
So what do you do? So are you like looking for? Or is there like open calls for those things, or how does all that work?
Yeah. So right now I mostly work as like a camera assistant. So since I'm still pretty new to the city, a lot of it is putting out messages to people that I already know, like from school or that I've worked with before, and letting them know that I'm here now. I'm looking for work. And people have been passing things along with me, which has also been great. Like, I feel like I'm getting so much closer to people that I've always just admired from afar now. So, yeah.
That is exciting. That's very exciting.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. That is. I'm very excited for you being out there and doing that. That's exciting news. People don't know. I don't think we talked about this last time, but Abby and I are very old friends. We went to elementary school together and everything. So she's my oldest friend, I think you would say.
Thank you. Yeah, it's true.
You've known each other 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. We don't have to think about it that way, but we can.
Yeah, we don't have to put a number. We don't have to put a number on it, Diane.
I have friends that I've been friends with for 20 years. It's okay, but yeah. It's not that unusual.
Yeah.
We won't talk about the fact I have friends I've been friends with for 60 years at this point. That will be you when you're my age. Not to sound like your old great aunt, but going to sound like your old great aunt at this point.
Mm-hmm.
This is the time of your life when you go and you do these things. Go work in New York. Go do these things. I did it, and I will. I have never regretted a day. So when Cade asked me during the Cade and Friends, is there anything that, you would regret about your life? Absolutely nothing, because you've got to go experience it. And you guys, so proud of both of you for doing that.
Oh.
Exploring your dreams. Go make it happen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Live on ramen noodles. I mean, that's what it takes, but go do it.
Really starting off very positive here before we get into blood and murder, but yeah.
We're going to talk about family.
Yeah.
You know how family can be.
Yeah. Yes. And just for the record, Diane isn't my great aunt or whatever. We're not related. We always have to make that weird preference that Diane and I are not related anyway that we know
We're
of.
Really not. I just treat him like a great nephew or whatever.
Yeah.
No, I think it's the fact that I have. I don't even know I've lost count how many nieces and nephews that I have. And I'm the one that's always telling them, quit college, go live your dreams. Their parents love me for that. I also took them to their first rock concerts. I mean, it's a thing.
Fundamental. That's good. Probably good being an aunt.
Yeah, it's great. I recommend it highly. In fact, I was at a high school graduation before I came here, and I was running a little bit late, and I told the person that I rode with, I said, I have to go because my podcast starts here in a little bit, and one of the high school kids turns to his friend and goes, she has a podcast. I'm sure he's looking at my gray hair going, oh man, what does she talk about? Knitting? And I turned to him and I kind of laughed and I said, don't get married, don't have kids, don't grow up. That's my motto. So
yeah. You get to come and talk about people getting brutally murdered,
Yes. Starting to appreciate horror movies, and who thought that would ever happen? Yeah. Thank you, Kate.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well, I think you can see the levels, the degrees of it, but yeah. But no.
I'm learning more and more about horror movies, let me put it that way. You, Abby, Spencer have been such a huge help for me experiencing this, and who would have thought? Did you take them for their first tattoo? No, Ava.
Oh, that's
no, I can't go there, Ava. I can't talk about that.
Well, great. Yeah, but Diane did plug earlier Cade and Friends. Listen to her episode of Cade and Friends. It's a really good episode from last season of Cade and Friends. But yeah, and she'll be on this season too, where we haven't really plugged Cade and Friends all that often here this season for some reason. But our last episode was Lee Williams, professor of mine from college. He was a news director here and worked as a reporter throughout the United States. Really, one of my favorite episodes we've ever done.
I agree. Really, really a fascinating guy.
And so many interesting stories.
Great stories. And if you're from Tulsa, a lot of the people he talks about in it, and just an interesting life.
Yeah, and he was out in in the 70s. He was out in the Southwest, through New Mexico and Arizona, and then going over to. So he was all over. He was up in Illinois, and then over in different areas down in Texas. So really fascinating story. So check that out. I really did enjoy that. And actually, next episode, Diane's in the co-pilot seat. We're finally releasing Jennifer's episode, so that's the next episode. Technically, it was supposed to be last season, but because of scheduling and all the stuff that ended up happening, it ended up getting bumped. So, but now it's actually coming out. So that's the next episode. So excited to see how that is.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Do you guys have seen any movies or anything you've been watching or?
No. I did a garage sale this week. I'm exhausted.
Oh, you did a garage sale?
Yes, I did.
Oh, wow. Well, you could have told us to help in some sort of way.
Yeah, right. I could just see that happening. I still have half a garage.
I would send some vibes.
You'd send some vibes. Thank you. I appreciate those vibes. Yeah.
Do you sell a lot, Diane?
Vibes. I still have half a garage full of stuff, so you're welcome to come pick through it, Cade, and see. I have some Sarah Brightman CDs you probably might like.
Mm.
You don't even know who that is.
I do not know
okay.
who it is.
Okay.
I saw Beau is Afraid. That's a fascinating film. So if you love Ari Aster, it's my third favorite Ari Aster movie. So he's only done 3 features, but
yes,
so it's but at the same time it's incredibly fascinating. Incredibly fascinating film. So I would highly recommend people seeing it. It is weird and odd, and I would imagine most people won't like it unless you are a film fan or whatever. But it is insane, and really love the third act of that film. That's really where it kind of comes into place and everything. And so it's an interesting film. Joaquin Phoenix, Parker Posey's in it. I love Parker Posey anytime she appears in films. She's only in it for a very short period of time, but but she's great, and a lot of the side characters are great. I love Parker Posey, so love seeing her pop up in things still. I went and saw a play. This kind of ties into what we're doing here. It was these short things at a university, and they the director. It was kind of part of, like, I guess they were directing capstones, and they were like they would come out every time and be like, hey, here's my play. A lot of work went into this, blah, 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 kind of like a little introduction. And then one of them was the director came out and she's like, trigger warning, this one involves cannibalism. And, call me old-fashioned, but I like to be surprised by cannibalism. And I think that took a little bit of the wind out of its sails. So
I think you're right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just can't imagine that there's a lot. I mean, there was a few other ones in that, like that. Those made sense to sort of, brace people or whatever. But I don't imagine there's a lot of people walking around with deep-seated problems of cannibalism in their backstory. But especially in a small town in Oklahoma, people really worried about their family members getting cannibalized. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that just kind of opened up a whole thought with me of like, I don't know. I think some things should be surprises, and in that particular case, like I said, surprise me with cannibalism. You just gotta ask a
question. What person would be in the audience that would be triggered by cannibalism, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, how many people are out there that would be triggered by that? Besides Armie Hammer, of course. But who else would be? I mean, you gotta, so why make the announcement?
Yeah. Yeah. No one got up and left. No one's like, that's where I draw the line. So everyone was, I guess, okay. I mean, what it does is it makes your audience be okay with it.
I know,
it makes you put you in an odd spot. If you approve of cannibalism, stay seated, and you're like, oh, well, okay.
Well, no, I don't really approve it, but I am kind of fascinated by the concept.
Yeah, it seemed to put the onus on the audience in a way that I wasn't a fan of. It's like, no, you throw cannibalism at me, you don't sit there and say, stay seated if you approve of cannibalism. Which everyone did. So I was in an audience full of people who are okay with depictions of cannibalism.
As far as you know.
As far as I know,
Did anyone leave after the cannibalism started?
No.
Okay, well then, they're absolutely in for it.
There were old ladies. There were old. I mean, like there were a lot of. It was an interesting group of people. There was an audible gasp when the cannibalism happened. It's like, but you were prepared for this.
You knew this was coming. Yeah. Blind buddy. Oh.
So that was the thing of like, I don't know. To me, it was like, oh, that would have been a nice surprise, but no. I had to spoil, but there were still people who were shocked by the turn of events, and I'm like, that was literally the opening line of the, okay, whatever. So, yeah, I don't know if anyone have any riffs on that. Anyone have any cannibalism bits they want to go?
I already threw out Armie Hammer.
I have.
Well, great.
I already did the obvious. So
Yeah.
Not much else I can add to that one.
Yeah. Well, great. I think we'll jump in then, unless anyone has any. Anything else they want to mention? Well, great. We have, we have 2 horror films that we're going to be talking about. We have 2011's You're Next, written by Simon Barrett and directed by Adam Wingard. And then our second film we'll talk about later in the show is Berberian Sound Studio from 2012, written and directed by Peter Strickland. But first, You're Next, the slasher film. We'll play a little musical interlude, and Diane will explain the plot, the deep plot that goes on. Plot point by plot point by the movie You're Next.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Hi, this is not the plot of You're Next. The movie, though, is about a family. The parents are called the Davidsons. It's Aubrey and Paul. And when Paul retired from his military contractor marketing job, he purchased a fixer-upper estate way out in the boonies somewhere. I don't think it actually specified where, but it was a large estate that was definitely a fixer-upper. And to celebrate their anniversary, they invited their 4 children and their better halves to celebrate with them in this new estate, new fixer-upper estate. And that's when the fun starts. They have 3 boys and 1 girl, which is the same family dynamic I grew up in. And I have a feeling our family dynamic would not have quite ended up the way that it did for this particular party, but it was still an interesting celebration. And it starts off rocky and it ends rocky, and in between is some real interest. For you horror fans, you do get blood spatter in the first 5 minutes. Cade, take it from here.
Well,
how's that for a description?
That was good. That was actually really good.
That was pretty good.
I thought it was. Yeah.
I didn't want to go plot. I don't want to give anything away.
Mm-hmm.
This one has twists and turns in it.
It does. It does have twists and turns.
So
kind of makes it's a home invasion slasher. So people who know that subgenre of
it though, really?
Well, that's what they're playing with, Diane.
Okay.
You said you weren't going to give anything away.
Okay. They're kind of playing. Well, you know, when it opened up, right, with the couple with the old really ugly guy and the young girl,
yeah,
and in obviously a mansion, and they are immediately taken out, by this
a guy with a lamb mask.
Yes, with the home invasion crew that wore masks. I thought, well, okay, that's the movie. So now what do we do? So, and then it got really interesting after that.
Well, here's one little bit I had about that opening is they kill the lady, and then with blood they take her blood, and then they rub on the this is all off camera, by the way. He's in the shower and she's murdered while that happens, and then he walks out and sees her corpse. So you don't see her murdered, but he sees on the window in blood, "You're next," written with her blood on the window. It's reversed because it's from the outside. And missed opportunity to have that be like the title card of your movie, like a shot from outside and it's saying "You're next." Just a note that I immediately was like, why? That just seems so easy to do.
Yeah.
To just have a shot outside. Shot outside. Yeah.
Might be why they didn't do it was.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was pretty awesome though, seeing it backwards though too. So, yeah.
But okay, I mean, I guess we haven't
He didn't
explained.
look like though he really thought he was going to be next until he was next. But.
So this was all just theatrics, like from the killers by the end of the movie. These are. There's nothing like in saying that needed to happen that way. I guess just they were very theatrical. The
theatrical home invaders setting groundwork that they're invading. They're doing violent invasion of these homes. I thought it was kind of interesting that as part of the plot, they're setting the stage. This is what's happening in this really, really remote neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
That nothing was stolen.
Yeah.
That kind of got me right there. It was like, okay, is this truly home invasion, or is this serial killer's gang, or yeah? Because aren't home invasions supposed to be like burglaries gone wrong kind of thing? Yeah.
Yes, I mean they're taken. I mean most of them they're then like rounded up, and then there's
I don't know.
yeah. I mean there are plot points of them, and so I mean the twist is at the end that it's not really that, but that's near the second part of it. But that is the genre that they're kind of dealing with this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well anyway, so I guess we'll jump in. So Abby, what did you think about this movie?
I have to say I wasn't a huge fan. I'm not a huge, I don't watch a lot of horror, so I wasn't like looking for trope moments or anything like that. Though I got the sense that it was leaning into the tropes, which I didn't intend to do, but it wasn't my cup of tea there. Mostly I just felt really confused by the characterization of most of the people, and not in a way that I was like, oh, the twist, so twisty. I just felt like to sort of prop up our protagonist, everyone else was just kind of there. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. Some of the like chases and like the kill moments were exciting. But other than that, it fell a little flat for me.
Yes, I would agree that I wasn't a huge fan of this sort of thing. I do think that in my when I was looking at, I want us to have different varieties, and some of them these things are horror films that we watch. We watch a bunch of different things. Last week it was was coming of age movies, I guess. It was or whatever we end up calling it, female friendship films. And then we've had romantic comedies the week before. So I mean, we try to do different things. And so looking up, this was one that received a lot of praise and everything. One of the things that sold me was, let me find the quote exactly here. Entertainment Weekly, so relatively a writer there, called it "Ordinary People Meets Scream," and boy, is that set the bar really high in my books. Robert Redford.
Yeah, but you're a huge Scream fan too.
Yes, huge Scream fan. Robert Redford's Ordinary People. All that's like, that's an interesting sort of combination. I assumed it was going to have like sort of a satirical bite to it or something. A lot of the reviews is like, oh, it's funny. It's so kind of sick and twisted and funny. And I did not find this movie funny. I don't know. I didn't get that from the film, and I can find, Scream's funny, intentionally so. And so I mean, there are ways to do horror funny and everything, and I don't know.
Well, if it's not Scream, why watch it, right?
Yeah. Well, you don't invoke that, and I know the film didn't invoke it. It was just some writer who, I don't know, didn't know better. I don't know. Shouldn't write any reviews ever again, as far as I'm concerned. If you're going to compare this movie to Ordinary People and Scream,
yeah.
you're going to invoke the masterpiece that is the Scream franchise. You shouldn't. You should use that sparingly. Yeah, no. It wasn't. Aspects of it's already slipping and disappearing from my mind. It did not leave a lasting impact on me at all. So I agree. There are elements of it that was great, but no, I wasn't a huge fan of it. Diane,
I thought the brothers' relationship that was overdone, totally overdone.
Yeah, between
the two older brothers, and this back and forth that they were doing, that was way overdone. They didn't need any more of that, for sure. I think the daughter is played in a trope that, being daddy's girl, she's going to save the day because daddy needs her to. And of course, that ends badly, because it always does for us. As being a daddy's girl with three brothers, I know it always ends badly for us. So don't do it. I think it kind of gave itself away a little bit in that Kristen is, I guess, how you say his name, disappeared for so long, and they tried to play it off as well. He's weak and can't handle this. He's probably already dead, that kind of thing. But it kind of gave away the plot, right? So the big twist that they were going to do kind of showed its hand a little too early, I think, in that sense.
Didn't you think he was going to get the axe? Like the axe
I
on the door?
really did. I all the way up until his girlfriend describes her past.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize that he didn't know this about her, right? Because she says it, that he doesn't know this about her. And that's when I went, oh, he's probably behind all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he doesn't think she's going to survive it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the one thing that I did kind of I enjoy was the music was really interesting. The music choices and things like that. There were times when I didn't know if it was music or sound effects. Yeah.
Yeah. It was weird. It had
CD
interesting.
changer.
The CD changer was a huge part of the movie for some reason. I don't know exactly. It was a huge. It starts the movie and it comes back around a few different times, and so it's kind of a odd little thing. We do sometimes when I post on Instagram, since you can do like musical things on the post now. I probably use that song as our featured song.
There you go. There you go.
I have to look up what song
good.
that is, but that but
there were times within the movie that I didn't know if it was a soundtrack or if it was, the sound that they were trying to make to go along with, the grisly murders that were happening around us. The other thing that kind of caught my attention, I'm not a horror fan, so I don't usually watch the gory stuff. So I don't see a lot of the special effect makeup that they do in these movies. I obviously see them in other movies, but some of them were really, really done. I mean, I think I could have done that makeup better. So that's just saying that really threw me out of the movie a couple of times because it was like, come on, you guys. Yeah, it's
interesting because it's a movie that like you're saying, I mean, it does lean into tropes. It leans into the home invasion like that. I would imagine the point of the film is to sort of seem like a home invasion slasher, and then for that to sort of be the reveal that it's not really what all that you sort of see. But like at times it's unclear. I mean, like I've seen a lot of things done better in other things, so it's like, I don't know if it's necessarily a trope that they're trying to do or whatever. I mean, there's just the house itself. I've seen this exact same house in like 17 other horror films.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this exactly. I mean, this is the Conjuring house. This is the boy house. I mean, these are some of them are later, but like, I mean, they're it's just this exact same style of home that's just in tons and tons of horror films, and it's just, it doesn't seem all that interesting, so it seems like it's a common thing to set a horror inside of a home like that. I don't know. A few other notes. The fact that they just kept pulling out, like someone dies and they just pull out a white sheet and put over them. The cliche of this white sheet, they just had an endless supply of these white sheets to throw onto people was, I thought, hilarious.
Didn't you see where they go into and she's pulling the white sheets off the furniture?
Mm-hmm.
So that right there should let you know they're going to be using these white sheets again later. Come on.
Yeah. Yes. And then also the odd thing of like, and correct me wrong if I missed this, but so the main actress lady, the girlfriend of the professor, she obviously has an Australian accent. Is that ever like like pointed at or said as like, I don't recall that ever being acknowledged in any sort of way, which bothered me.
Whenever she described growing up in the outback with her dad, and becoming a part of a survivalist militia kind of group,
but did no one brought it up as an odd situation? Like,
they didn't say anything about Z either, and let me tell you, I thought she had to be a serial killer when she walked in.
You remember these people's names?
That's like, there were so many people. I didn't remember anybody's name.
I wrote it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember anybody. I remember.
I typed it.
Ty West was the guy who played the filmmaker in this movie, and he's dispatched early on. He gets an arrow very early on in the film, but he's a filmmaker. He makes horror films now, very
yes,
famously. And so
what did you memorize everybody in this film.
No, I'm saying, Diane, that I knew that one. I don't know what his character's name was. He was Ty West.
Neither.
But he, but yeah, that's the only person I know in this film, character name or actor. I don't know.
It got what is it? An 80 on Rotten Tomatoes and
Yeah.
70 by the audience on Rotten Tomatoes, and so.
I mean, if you
I don't
compare
know.
it
I mean,
to like, there's
I wouldn't
20.
compare it to anything.
Yeah, it is 20. I mean, it's better than like 20 million horror films. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of there's a lot of really, like, when you compare it against the other like low budget, horrible things that are put out. I mean, it may seem like we're being a little bit rude. We watch a lot better films on here, a lot better horror films on our show. But in comparison to like other red box things on some sort of list on streaming, all like it's better than those by miles. But
that seems to be the consensus of the users on Rotten Tomatoes. Is they like, I thought I was going to be watching them or The Strangers or something like that, and this is heads and tails above that.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't compare the family dynamic to Ordinary People. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that this family has some dysfunction to it, and they roughly go over that. But it's like they slap you in the face with it, and then it's over, right? So you get a paragraph for each family dysfunction. Okay, so we're to write a paragraph for each family dysfunction between the members of this family, and that's all we're going to give you. And we're also going to give you a paragraph about this girl's background as to why she's going to survive all this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. And I find it the thing that stood out to me as probably like, if it would have just nailed this part about it, it would have been even like better. Of like, it did a particularly awful job at addressing death. Like that these people die, and then they're like, they mourn. They do not react naturally to how the murder of their mother or their wife or the murder of their, like none of them react the sort of way like the father should have reacted a little bit different. Like, he's just like, oh, my wife's dead and I'm sad about it and I need to see her. Like, it's just if they would have nailed that aspect of it, then it would have been fine. It would have been good, I think.
I think they started off pretty good with the mother, like just having a complete breakdown when she sees her son get shot, or the daughter's boyfriend get killed, because that was right in front of her, and it was pretty grotesque. And I mean, I think she's the only one who reacted normally.
And then she's dispatched, right?
Then she's dispatched, right? So.
Yes, I agree. But I mean. Yeah, I mean, there was just.
And then it was like, oh, so sad we lost the filmmaker. No one cares.
Yeah,
I know. And then the brother that walks around with the arrow in his back for the next hour. That's pretty. Yeah. Yeah.
So do you take out the arrow? No, you have to leave it in, right?
No, you're supposed to leave it in. Yeah.
But do you break it off so it's not? Like, you're not supposed to have it. You're not supposed to have it protruding, right?
Right. Every Western I've ever seen, they do that. They break it off.
But I don't know. Part of me thinks that's like it's, just so that they don't have to
show it. Yeah. Well,
that's sort of what I felt confused by is like the violence was very convenient. Like they're like, oh, he's dying, he's pale, there's an arrow sticking out his back, and then the next he's like running around, and the arrow is still sticking out his back. I was like, what's happening?
Well, an arrow shot from a crossbow, that close range, it would have gone all the way through him. I mean, I think, unless it hit a bone. If it had hit a bone, it went far enough to kill him.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, that was kind of dumb.
Just some sort of like, so I mean, like the weapons in this movie. There's a
didn't like the blender?
There's a blender. But so what, they end up fighting back with like utensils and stuff around there. But the actual masked killers, it's crossbow, it's machete,
an AR, and they have an AR.
Oh yes, they do. That's
They
yeah.
didn't use it.
They didn't use it.
They probably should have.
Yeah.
I think they thought they were going up against some sheep or something. You know?
Yeah.
It's going to be easy to kill.
So okay, I guess we'll get.
They did have to be careful with a gun like that, though, because there were people that they weren't supposed to kill in those group scenes like that. So, kind of see why they were using what they were using.
Yes. Yeah. So again, we learn. I mean, I guess slight spoiler. I mean, the spoilers for the film. I guess we'll jump in there. So they're spoilers. I don't know if you would care to watch this movie, but they are hired. These masked people, these home invaders, are hired by one of the sons in order, or all two of the sons. How many sons? Is it just two? Right?
Yeah, two of the sons.
Two of the sons.
And Z, the girlfriend.
Oh, yes, you're right. Okay, so that's
to have sex on the bed with the mom's dead body.
Okay, yes. You're right. Forgot about that scene. You're right.
I can't believe I'm 68 years old and I watched this movie.
She really wanted it, and he did not. He was not into it for, I think, valid reasons. He was okay with murdering her.
But he wasn't okay with that.
Yeah. Her with her white sheet, the surplus white sheets that they all have.
Right.
I mean, they could have moved the whatever. Anyways, it's not important. That was not the appropriate time, anyways. But they hired these masked people. Do we learn what who they are? I mean, we don't really know who they are. They were hired, right? They're just hired.
They were hired. He said at one point.
Diane listens a little bit more to some plot exposition stuff than I do.
I wrote down some stuff. But Felix said, "I know you guys served together, but I didn't know you were brothers."
Yes.
When the first one is killed off by, I don't know about this girl, man. I like her a lot. I want her to play Supergirl or Wonder Woman or something in an upcoming movie.
Mm-hmm. With her Australian accent.
She can use whichever one she wants.
Yeah, walking around like, nor, we have a problem here. You know, like the entire time. It was distracting. What can I say?
She didn't leave anyone half dead. I mean, she would have never left the arrow in the guy's back. I mean, she would have not made that mistake. Mm-hmm. First off, to just halfway kill someone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. She walked around with a meat tenderizer.
Tenderizer, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a knife, and she had various tools, a blender. She had various tools she used.
My favorite thing is she's like, the one thing that did actually make me kind of laugh is like she's walking with all these knives. She's like, okay, we got all these knives, and then this person crashes through the window and they just fly everywhere. Like that was the one thing that absolutely hilarious. I don't know why that one, because she's like, here's the plan, and then it immediately backfires.
Well, she's like, we need to stay away from the windows as I stand in front of the window with my hand full of weapons.
I know. Yeah. After all they went through with the chairs trying to get past the windows, and then they just start walking around in front of the windows. I was like, wait a minute, what about the windows? You remember the chairs and the yeah. I did laugh at that part too, Kate. I did. That got a giggle out of me.
Yes. I don't have really much any other notes about this movie. I mean, so the director later went on he directed Godzilla versus Kong. He's done a few other different things. So I mean, he's now a name, I guess. So good for him. It wasn't directed poorly. There
really wasn't anything too horribly bad about this movie. It's just there are better, I guess, slasher movies than this out.
Yeah. I think it just, if everything would have been just kind of finely tuned a little bit more, and like, and had something a little bit more interesting to sort of say.
You mean like a different plot, different story?
If it just had a different plot, different story.
And different location. Yeah.
I don't know what problem I had with it was setting and some of the characters. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the problem. Is like none of the things excelled. Everything was just kind of fine,
It
and
was
so
kind of a mediocre, horror movie that, if you'd have nothing to do on a Friday night and it's free, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
If I did like discover this just like on like Netflix or whatever, turning on something, I would be pleasantly surprised. I think just being like, oh, there's something, there and everything. So I mean, I guess that's high praise from that situation. Like I do think it.
I'm kind of surprised Tubi doesn't have this movie. I'm really kind of disappointed in Tubi because it did not have this movie.
Yes, it says saying that it's about to go off of Stars. Like on the thing when I was on Amazon, it said it had
really?
it only had like 48 hours, so it's about to be on something else. So be on the watch out.
Maybe going to Tubi.
Maybe it's going to Tubi. Maybe it's going to Netflix. Who knows?
It belongs on Tubi.
It does belong on Tubi. I do think so. I agree. Are you a fan of Tubi, Abby? Have you checked out Tubi?
Yeah, I like Tubi. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I watched our other film.
Oh, yeah.
I know. We're trying to get Tubi as an advertiser because we love Tubi. We always talk about it.
Yes.
Because they also have a live stream now for Tubi.
Oh, really?
Yes. The movie I watched this morning on Tubi, there was an announcement, live TV. So they are now streaming the standard, live stream TV that you can get on Samsung or anywhere else. Pluto, all those places. Good for Tubi.
I'm rooting for Tubi. Not gonna lie.
I am too. I want them to win.
We're Tubi stans around here.
We are. We love them.
Okay, I guess we'll say, Abby, would you, unless you have anything else, anyone else have anything else that's important that he knows?
I think I agree. I agree with everything you said. Could have been better in all aspects.
Yeah. So Abby, what would you recommend this movie? What would you rate it? Anything that you liked, didn't like, all that stuff?
I would maybe recommend it to make fun of it. And I would rate it 2 money eye emojis out of 5.
Well, good. Yeah, no, money eye. Okay. There's one with the money mouth with the
yeah, that's not
okay, great. Yeah, no, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I do think it'd be kind of fun to watch with a group of people. Oh, that's kind of weird. Yeah, there we are. There's your money eyes. I don't know why there's a blue line underneath it.
Perfect.
Well, cool. Diane, would you recommend this movie, and what would you rate it?
I would recommend this movie, and I'm not a horror fan, as I've said many times, but I enjoyed this movie. Just don't, look at the bad makeup part, when that and the blender thing, that was kind of gross, but for the most part, I wasn't too grossed out. I would give this a bow and arrow if you let me.
Okay, I'll let you.
I was going to do a knife, but then I thought you might want the axe or the knife. Because they did use all those things.
You're right. They did have an axe. They had a knife. That's what I was trying to come up with, was all the different things that they had. There's your bow and arrow. They did that, and then they had knives and everything. So at the end of the day, I guess I wouldn't recommend you to watch this either. I mean, unless you really like horror and just like this sort of slasher genre, and you're okay with low quality or whatever of some things. I like my horror to be a little bit elevated, and this really thought it was doing something more interesting than really what I ended up really doing. But it was fine. It was fine. So if you just have something you want to watch and everything with horror, then it's an excellent movie just to sort of put on.
It was better than the horror movie we watched last week with the girls and the
braid. Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
we had a plot.
Yes. I mean, it was a little bit, this one's a lot more straightforward than that film was.
Yes.
I think that they both, had things that they wanted to say. And this one, it's like, it had nothing deeper than what, it was saying. Like this movie that we watched, it was all surface level, and so there's no digging deep. I do think there probably was some interesting things with the last film we watched if you wanted to dig deep or even understood what they were going for. But anyways, we're not talking about that. This one, sure, watch it if you like horror. And I gave it a sheep. That's what I gave it because of the little lamb guy, the guy with the lamb face.
Those masks all look alike to me. The sheep and well, they really kind of all looked alike. I mean, I just got to where I didn't care which one they were.
Oh wow! I like the lamb. The lamb guy was cool. He was the main one, seemingly. Yeah.
But he was the last one to go, right?
Mm-hmm. Lamb. Anyways,
lamb chops. I mean, lamb chops out of me.
Yeah, I had as a backup, I had axe, bow and arrow, knife. But since you called all those out, Diane, and it wouldn't have been original, I went with lamb. Well, great. That's that. That's your next. My
bad, Cade. I destroyed your. Oops.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was bloody and that. I don't know. It was what it was. Well, great. Next film we have coming up here is called Berberian Sound Studio. It's from 2012. I will be giving the plot of that movie.
Thank God somebody does.
After our short intermission, be sure to grab something from the concession stand. In the meantime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's intermission time. All these delicious treats are waiting for you at the refreshment stand. Delicious fresh popcorn, ice-cold cola, and candy you know and love. They're all ready for you now, so you won't have to miss any of the feature. Come and get them.
And now, on with the show.
Hello, I'm going to give the plot of the 2012 movie Berberian Sound Studio. It is written and directed by Peter Strickland. It's a British film. We'll get into that a little bit. But the plot is essentially a British sound engineer named Gilderoy. He's played by Toby Jones, the great Toby Jones. He's hired to go create sound effects at a horror studio. This is set in 1970s Italy, so it's giallo horror. It's really interesting from that level of where the setting is. And he goes there. It's not the film he sort of thought it was going to be. He was hoping it was some sort of, it's outside of, he doesn't do horror typically. He thought it was an equestrian film. So he has to create sound effects from things in order to match with the film. And he's Boysian over his head because he doesn't really, he doesn't know Italian all that well. A lot of people speak Italian in Italy. And it is it starts to get to him. It starts to bother him. All the things he has some sort of a mental health crisis, I guess you could say. And he's just trying to get his ticket reimbursed for his airplane ride. And that's Berberian Sound Studio. Diane, what'd you think about this movie?
Oh, I was hoping you would explain it to me. I really was. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I kind of love Toby Jones.
Mm-hmm.
He always plays such great characters. They're always misunderstood. He always plays
put upon
the bad guy. Put upon, the whole nine yards. And so I was kind of looking forward to seeing a movie that he was in.
Like the star of.
Yeah.
Because he gets to play supporting often is what he is.
Right. And usually a villain because he's kind of a villainy kind of guy. But anyway, so I was kind of excited to get to see this. And then about 15 minutes into it, I was like, Okay, this is really for Cade. I need to not just keep my mouth shut and let Cade talk about this movie, because only Cade really understands this movie. And then I thought, oh, thank God Abby's on this week, because Abby will understand this movie. This is not within my realm of understanding, because once they said there was no such flight, why would we reimburse you? I was like, okay, I'm done with this movie now. For sure.
Hour into the movie that.
Yeah. So there's an hour and 32 minutes of confusion I will never get back. So go ahead and explain it to me, Abby. Please.
Yeah, so I really liked this film.
See, I knew you would.
I watching these two films together sort of made me realize too, I am very much more forgiving of a film that sacrifices story for character development and not the other way around. Like whenever characters are sacrificed for the story to progress, I don't like it. So I sort of knew that was what this film was trying to do, was going to be more of a character story rather than here are the specific plot points. So once I accepted that, I felt like I was more open to enjoying it. But yeah, I really enjoyed the sort of, you never know if something is actually going on with him or if everyone is against him. Because you really get that feeling from the director, that the director's like, well, this isn't a horror film. This is just art or whatever, even though it's very clearly. It was giving like Stanley Kubrick making Shelley Duvall do those takes over and over again sort of vibes to me. So yeah, I was really, and I just thought the characterization was really powerful, and the avant-garde moments where it really confronts you with the fact that you're watching a film, I thought was really powerful.
Well, great. I'll take the middle of the road stand here and be like,
no, Cade, I knew you would love this movie.
I wasn't the hugest fan of the film. I thought it was overly dry. On paper, I should love this film. I do think that, like, but I was ultimately not all that engaged. I couldn't get on the wavelength of the film. I felt like I never really gelled with it. It moved at a snail's pace, and that's not to say that, I mean, there's a lot of horror I like that is methodical and slow and building of tension, but I felt like it took a long road to get to where it was trying to get to, and that was sort of where I'm like, and then for it to sort of, the destination wasn't all that satisfying to me. That being said, I love Toby Jones. That is the only note I have written down for this film is I love Toby Jones. That is the only thing I have written. But I love him a lot. It's great to see him in a starring role. I do think that this film, it goes a long way how interested you are in seeing Toby Jones slice produce to sound like stabbing of people. That is half this movie, is throwing lettuce around and watermelon and wowing people with his sound effect skills. I know it's the point of the film to not see the film that they're working on, but I kind of wish I did have an understanding of what they were doing. Now, I mean, there were some, like, the most interesting parts of it to me were the setting. I love that setting. I think it's a really cool setting to set it there. In a 70s Italian horror studio soundstage, and like the bringing in of actors who are all doing these voices and things, and like in the old technology, and then, you know, all that is really cool. And
I agree. I like that part. I like the fact that they didn't even show us the film. You know, that they were watching the film, and that you were watching them react to the film, and then the sound mixing part, which is what he was supposed to do. That was interesting, watching him, you know, manipulate the sounds, you know, to become something else, and his interaction with other people. You've never heard yourself, you know, sound from this perspective. The what is it called when the guys who broke up the watermelon. What's it called?
Foley artists.
Yes, the Foley artists. When they no longer showed up for this, that's just when I started going, this film is kind of suspicious. Because now he's doing the Foley stuff. So what's going on here, really? Is he really in his little workshop in his garden shed and dreaming all of this? Or, this is where I kind of got a little confused. Because at one point you thought he was staying in a hotel room. And then they have one scene where he opens the door and he's on the soundstage. So it's like he's sleeping in this little room off the soundstage. I mean, yeah. That didn't make any sense. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's intentionally confusion. I mean, like I don't necessarily have a problem with that aspect of it. I think a lot of films are sort of like horror they could do that. It's weird. Like I'm more lenient with this film with being open ended like that than like a braid from last week, because I have a feeling that they understand, or it's to an effect. It's but. I don't know. I mean, I just kind of wish it had a little bit more meat on the bone. That's just kind of where and then that it kind of moved there was a bit more revelation. It's packed at the very end, and it's just like that's a little too late for some things. I felt like
it was too late for me. That's for sure. I wanted to go back to the other movie and do a second film that's just about the girl from Australia. She was interesting.
Well, I do think these are an interesting sort of pairing. I think that the two films are interesting. One's tries to be, I think, a little bit more, the first one being a little bit more popcorny, a little bit more, it's straightforward and pleasing horror fans from that. They're both going after an audience, and it's two different sub audiences within horror. And I don't know.
Do you think that they both met the needs of their audiences?
That's a good question. That's honestly a very, very good question, because I'm a fan of both things, and I don't feel particularly satisfied with either film. But I would imagine that there's obviously both of these films have really good ratings and everything, so they have found an audience and everything. So I'm perhaps not the right person to ask that sort of situation. Abby liked this movie, and I don't blame anyone who likes either one of these films. It's just not, I don't think, mine where I end up on it. Anything you want to explore with this, Abby? Well, what was the film that they were watching about? It's witches, right? Almost Suspiria. That's a it's very
kind of a Suspiria.
The original Suspiria.
I know you said you weren't a huge fan of it, but I really liked not seeing the movie they were watching, which I also watched Your Next first, and I felt like once I was like, all right, it's people in animal masks. They sort of revealed the horror a little too quick, so I was maybe set up to be like, oh, I like that I'm not seeing the horror, because I had just gone from, I just saw these random guys walking around. So yeah, I liked not seeing it. I know there was one moment where you saw the movie that they're watching, and it's like the first moment where he's like, what are they doing to her, or something like that. And it's not the first time that scene plays, but there is that's like the only point you see the film. So I also, and I think the film explores this a little bit, I do wish that it went with it a little bit more of like the brutalization of women in the film industry, because I was like, okay, this is also, the entire time that it's women being brutalized in this film. And also the only moment that you see is the shot of this woman's face. And so I thought that was a really nice confrontation of like, even though it's like you don't know what's going on, I sort of was taking that as, oh, somebody is sort of pulling the wool over his eyes. And there is somebody sort of masterminding this breakdown of his psyche here. This is
because that's also happening within the actual like how the actresses are treated and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the parallel between what's happening on the screen and real life,
and his reaction to each, and it all escalates throughout the course of the movie. what's happening to them escalates. His reaction escalates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The question is why him? And that's what he's dealing with. Is that's what his sort of question is? Why was he picked? Why? Which I don't know. That's sort of the question of the film.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Maybe his mama got tired of him living in the garden shed.
Yeah.
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 I have
that's
a garden shed, and I'm not letting anyone move in. There.
Just put that out there.
Period.
Nobody's moving into my garden shed.
Sorry, everyone who's wanting to move into Diane's garden shed.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting film. I mean, if anyone wants, Abby, you can feel free to lead the conversation here. I don't know. I have too much to really sort of say about it, but I mean, it was. Go ahead.
I have a question for you, Abby, because this is one of the notes that I wrote down was that when he goes back to his hotel room or whatever the room is he's actually staying in, he's listening to recordings, and they're not recordings from this movie, right? So are they recordings to calm him, to bring him peace, or keep him in touch with reality? I wasn't really sure what he was doing, but they were obviously not recordings from this movie. He was listening to. And the other thing that I had a question about was...
Got an answer to that, Abby?
It's
a two-part question, so okay.
It's a two-part question.
Okay.
And because this is the second part to that is he trapped in a film that is horrific to him? So when he would go back to his room, he would listen to these recordings that seemed to be not part of that movie. So is he? Yeah, that's what I didn't get. Was he trapped or what? What was going on?
Yeah. Yeah, I know this is going to feel very much like a sort of non-answer, because a lot of how I sort of felt like. I sort of feel like anytime there's a film about filmmaking, it's a filmmaker's movie. And it's for people who enjoy filmmaking, whether that's like professionally or just like as a hobby or whatever. So, and when I was seeing, there were moments where like you see the silent lights flashing and you're like,
Silencio.
You know that's not, yeah. You know that's not, they're not necessarily showing you a piece of the set. Like that intentionally is like taking you out of the set and reminding you that you're watching a movie. So I felt like everything, I kind of felt like for me, I was like, I'm not going to give answers on anything. Like this movie is not going to give them to me. Because that was sort of like, you hear specifically like the screaming that he hears the first time he shows up. You hear that throughout the entire film. And I kept thinking, I can't tell if this is supposed to be coming from the movie, like if this is diegetic, or if this is non-diegetic and it's something that only we're hearing and maybe he's hearing, but you know that it's not, he's not supposed to be hearing it.
I made it seem like whenever like he was walking through the halls and they were just screaming, like it was other rooms or something, like they were producing other than like that other. That's why I sort of took it was that, but I can imagine, yeah, being in his head as well. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I felt like any sound that we heard, I didn't trust it. Like I assumed that it was meant to be something that only us and him are hearing. And you're supposed to not know of whether that's like a healthy coping mechanism on his part or if it's like, oh, he's imagining all of this and he's just holding on to whatever he can to get through this. So yeah, I know that was not an answer at all, but like the whole time I was like, I'm just gonna watch Toby Jones try to get through this. That's all that I'm gonna get out of this.
Yeah, he's trying to put together puzzle pieces and everything. I did find it interesting the idea that they can't get like the perfect scream there, or like that was sort of the idea, and like, you know, and like they're destroying these actresses' voices like for the sake of trying to be like, we need to get this like, and that's interesting. That was an interesting little scenes and all that, because none of them were right or whatever for the
He was
scene.
willing to destroy the one actress's hearing.
Oh yeah, that's where he kind of realizes maybe he's gone, too far or
far.
whatever. Mm-hmm.
Or he's gone too far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting film. I it's really a love letter to sound of movies and everything, and like that idea there. It's a lot. The visual part is not as important. It's really about the sound in this film, and I did like the opening title thing, kind of, I guess, supposed to be the opening title sequence of the film itself, not the film we're watching, but like that was really cool. It's very much of that style of that time period, and so seeing that was really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I agree. Like it's something that I on paper I feel like I should really love, but I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of the execution at the end of the day. But anyways. Abby, we'll start with you again. Would you recommend this movie, and what would you rate it?
Hmm. I would definitely recommend it, especially since it is free. I think it's worth giving a shot. And I would rate it 3 old-timey microphones out of 5.
Good. So yeah, once again, Tubi's great. It's on Tubi for free.
Love Tubi.
You can watch it there anytime, anytime that your heart desires. I don't know, unless it's off until it's off the thing, which is always a possibility. There's your 3 mic. Oh, it's vertical. Well, it's vertical. There you go.
Oh, cool. I like that.
Thank you.
Didn't mean to do that,
like
but yeah. Diane, what did you would you recommend this movie? What would you rate it?
What do you think? I mean, no, I wouldn't recommend this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have no desire to know what's going on behind the scenes in the filming industry. I saw this as somebody, I really, like you said, Cade, on paper, it looked like something you would really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that too. I thought all the way up until a certain point, and then I thought, yeah, he's not going to like this movie. But the interesting aspects of it were the technical aspects of it, as far as how they did the sound and how he mixed the sound and how he was able to manipulate sound. All of that was interesting. But no, I wouldn't recommend this movie. And I hate to say this, not even for free on Tubi. It just kills me.
What are you giving it?
A lettuce. He chopped a lot of lettuce trying to get that perfect sound. And that radishes. Was it radishes that he kept pulling the radishes apart to get the sound?
Oh, yeah.
The
pulling hair
out?
Yeah.
I know. I wish I'd have thought of that earlier, because the radishes would have been good too.
Yes.
Oh, well.
I would not. On paper, it seems like I would like I said before, really like this movie. It was really interesting. It's, I mean, would I recommend you watching it? I think so, actually. Even though I said all that stuff, I do think that it was. I'm going to go the opposite way. If this is something that sounds interesting to you, like a sort of slow-paced horror film that set in that setting that we said, in this sound recording in Italy, I think it's fun from like seeing like the culture sort of clash and sort of seeing someone like I love a good thing where someone's just like, hey, I'm just trying to get this one little task done, and everyone's like, forget about it. And it's like no, can you please just help me here? Like that is such a strong character motivation. Like it's just someone trying to go against this bureaucracy of everyone just telling them to forget about it. And boy, do I really like that scene of where he is like all the scenes where he's like, how do I get this paid for? But the one where he eventually is like, hey, people would kill to work for here, like that, and the sort of intensity of that, of like, I really, really like that scene, and it stuck out. Of like, obviously, as you're watching it, they were never going to, pay for it or whatever. But
did you guys watch this with the subtitles on?
Well, mine was automatically on the Italy.
Well, anytime they spoke in Italian, yeah.
But I didn't watch it for the English version.
The rest of it with the subtitles on. Okay.
Did you?
I just wondered. Oh yeah.
Did you not understand what Toby Jones was saying?
Well, it wasn't just Toby Jones.
Okay.
There were a lot of the Italian actors who would speak English that made it kind of difficult. With all the other sounds that were going on around me on that thing. So
most of the time I do watch our films, but I with subtitles, but I did not watch it this time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which, by the way, Tubi does a great job with their subtitles. Just FYI.
It's a little toggle thing.
Easy to turn on and off. Yeah.
Really great interface. We just love Tubi here.
We really love Tubi.
I gave this movie a scream. That's what I ended up giving it. Little screaming guy.
Oh, a screaming guy. Yeah.
Scream. I was going to give it a watermelon, but I decided to do the scream.
Oh, yeah. See, I left the watermelon for you.
They would eat it with the seeds or whatever.
They would swallow the seeds.
They would swallow the seeds. That's right. That's that.
That was for grapes. That was the grapes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they
swallowed the grape seeds.
And they handed him the watermelon though, after they've chopped it and everything. Yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting film. Wasn't as great as that, it could have been in my books, but still very interesting. Well, great. That is Berberian Sound Studio by Peter Strickland. Later in the season, we are watching another Peter Strickland movie, so it'll be exciting to see how it compares. It could be I wasn't some directors make ones I'm more fans of than other ones. I was not a huge fan of Mandy, but I did love what was that? Beyond the Black Rainbow was also by the same guy. So,
oh my God!
So the comparison there, I think that some of them can make movies I don't like, but
they were both bad.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Cade and I don't always agree on movies. Can you tell?
Well, and then it was interesting. Harrison on both those episodes loved Mandy, hated Beyond the Black Rainbow. So it's so opposite of me completely.
You're the only person who likes Beyond the Black Rainbow.
I don't think I'm the only person, but I'm the only person that talked about Beyond the Black. It's a good movie. You should watch that one, Abby. It's a really good good film.
Don't bother, Abby.
Well,
I'll keep it in mind. We'll see what happens if whatever actually comes.
In Fabric is the next one that we watch by Peter Strickland. In Fabric.
Spoiler alert, Diane. Well, great. We will play a little musical interlude, and then we will go into preview time. So stick around for preview time.
And now, preview time. When it comes to entertainment, you can't beat a good film. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Let's take a look at what's coming your way. Well, we have some interesting films coming up next week. We have like we've said, we've done romantic comedies, we've done coming of age, horror, and now in the same line, it's Robert Redford night. So next week is Robert Redford night here on Double Feature Movie Club. We just referred to it earlier, Ordinary People, Robert Redford. So this is he's on our minds. He's on our minds. Robbie Reddy, however they call him. What's his name? Robert Redford, probably. Well, anyways, people have a short.
Sadly,
short
we
hair.
will not be watching The Sting or 7 Days of a Condor or Ordinary People or, Stars. What was it? No, the one with Barbara Streisand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we won't be watching any of those films.
Sneakers. We're not watching Sneakers.
Sneakers, Barefoot in the Park.
You ever seen Sneakers?
Yes.
It's a little,
It is an
late Robert Redford, little, Sidney Poitier, is in it. It's a little.
It's about hackers. It was kind of before its time.
Yeah.
About black hat and white hat hackers.
Yeah.
There were a lot of interesting people in that film.
Dan Aykroyd, right? Is the other one?
Yeah, he's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the young guy? River Phoenix, wasn't he in it?
Oh, yeah, he might have been. Watch Sneakers.
That's a really good. We're not going to watch Sneakers, unfortunately.
Sadly.
Or The Sting, or Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, another great Robert Redford movie.
Mm-hmm. No, we're watching. They're both from the last. Ben Kingsley's in Sneakers. I was looking up all the people in Sneakers. Yeah,
I know
it
was a good movie.
River Phoenix. Yeah, you're right. James Earl Jones. Yeah, there's a lot of people in Sneakers. Anyways, we are watching two. And Ava did join in. Where we were.
The Way We Were. Thank you. That's the one with Barbara Streisand. The Way We Were. Mm-hmm. Excellent movie. Back when they made good movies.
Mm-hmm. So next we are watching. All Is Lost. It's Robert Redford on a boat.
Yes, 51. He says 51 words in this movie, so it's going to be an interesting movie.
It's by it's by what's it, JD or JC Chandor, which we've had him on a few different things. He's the he's a really interesting director because like nothing really matches, but he did Margin Call.
He did Margin
Call, A Most Violent Year, which that was one of the ones that Diane didn't watch, but we watched it here on the show. And then All Is Lost, Redford boat movie. So then there's that. And then where's that at? Where can people watch?
On Tubi.
Oh, it is?
For free. Yes, it's on Tubi or Pluto TV or Amazon with a Prime subscription, but we always recommend Tubi.
Yes.
Because we love Tubi.
Well, that's fun. I like that.
I know. I love that that's on Tubi.
And then our second movie we're watching, which was supposed to be Robert Redford's final role until he appeared in Game as a cameo, but this was supposed to it's The Old Man and the Gun with him and Sissy Spacek. Fun little film, supposedly.
And it's not free.
Oh.
So go to wherever you buy your movies and rent them and spend the money for this one.
Well, fun. Well, that's going to be Robert Redford night. We're excited here, right?
Yeah.
So excited. So excited. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's a person that exists.
I would just like to say, Cade, congratulations on 40 episodes.
I know, 40 episodes. Yeah, that is exciting. That is exciting.
A lot of fun.
Yes, we should have done something. Had a 40th celebration. Should have wore 40th year. Happy 40th.
We are all very black. So
we're all very black. Yeah, we're mourning something. I don't know.
Yeah. Mourning.
40 weeks of our lives. 80 films.
Oh, gosh.
80 times 2 hours. That's a lot of. It's a lot of time. We've spent watching films, digging through, watching some good ones, some bad ones to find diamonds in the rough. So you're right. A lot of interesting things. A lot of fun we've had along the way. It's a lot of, perhaps the Double Feature Movie Club was all the friends we've made along the way.
Okay, Cade, that was wonderfully said.
Was it? Abby, it's always great having you on here. We love talking films with you. I love your perspective with things. I would have floundered for Berberian Sound Studio otherwise, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. Of course, always. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Where can people find you and follow you and see what you're working on?
Yeah, so I have Instagram. It's abby.hoover with an extra R at the end. It's just my personal Instagram, so you can just see me, doing what I do. But yeah.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing your Instagram post from your exciting time in New York City.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and I know Diane really liked the documentary that you worked on. I don't think we ever talked about that.
We didn't get a chance, but yeah, I recommend it highly. Do you have a link in your bio on your Instagram?
Yes, so it just now finished up its festival run, so the link for it is in my Instagram bio.
Oh, so it's publicly. Okay. Well, cool.
Yep.
Oh, well, we should have led with that, Abby.
I honestly completely forgot. It was just like, oh yeah, it's not in festivals anymore. I can just post it.
Mm-hmm.
And all I did was like put the link in there, and then I kind of forgot that I did that. So.
Well, good.
Recommended highly. I'm going to send that link out to a few people, a few more people that I think would enjoy it.
Thank you.
Yes. And what was the name of that? What's the title of the film?
It is called Rituals of Our Own.
Mm-hmm. It's very, very, very good. It's very moving and everything. Yeah. So definitely check it out. Follow her on the page, and then check out that the link to that. It's in the bio, as they say. Yep. Yeah, well, you can, speaking of where you can follow, you can Double Feature Movie Clubs on Instagram and Twitter now at Double Feature MC. We post exclusive content to there. We have 60-second reviews of our movies, as well as other little, things related to what we're watching and stuff. And so definitely check out us on those two platforms at Double Feature MC. If you're watching the live stream version of this, you can always listen to us as a podcast next day, Monday mornings afterwards, wherever you get your podcasts. If you listen to us as a podcast, you can join us on Sundays at 6 p.m. Central. We have a live stream in which you can join in the chat. Ava's always in the chat having fun there, and we love for people to watch along if you watched the movie before, or hear our recommendation afterwards, whatever the case is. We're glad you do. It's been 40 episodes. I can't believe it's been 40 episodes. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It is a lot. So we appreciate your subscribing to the YouTube page, hitting the like button, all the buttons. Hit all the buttons.
Rating us 5 stars.
5 stars. Leave a review. Let us know what you think, what you would change.
Yeah.
I know I'm not Cade's aunt.
Yes, it's important. Whenever you started saying advice was like a great aunt, I'm like, we need to always
great aunt advice.
Yeah, always clarify that
we're not related.
40.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Great. Well, that's
shooting your horn.
Yes. Abby, always great. We'll have to have you on again next season. We only got 5 more episodes here in this season of Double Feature Movie Club. So start preparing. I don't know. Start emotionally. Start emotionally. Yeah, be prepared for landing or whatever. Brace for impact or whatever you say. So that's. But yeah, next we'll definitely have to have you on again next season. We love having you on and everything. So yeah, that's the show.
Thank you, totally.
Yeah.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.